the concept of an implied stay is going to be used for all of our stationary positions, like a sit, a lay down, and our settling on a mat, so our place cue. What we're looking for is that they're learning that once we give them their cue, like sit, that they're going to hold that position until we tell them that they can get up, which is going to be our release cue. So it's going to look like this at a first beginner level. Ready? Sit. I'm going to say the cue. Then I'm going to reward at a pace that he can successfully hold his position until he hears free, which is his release cue. Okay, your release cue could be something like free, all done, okay, whatever makes sense for you, but that's going to be the clear signal to your dog that they do not need to hold that position any longer. We're going to now practice that with a down. Down. Good. And again, so I'm just rewarding him at this first level for holding his position and not popping up. Free. Good. If your dog tends to pop up from their position, that might mean we need to reward a little bit faster so that they get more feedback for doing the right thing before they're popping up themselves. If they do pop up, you're going to reset them back into their position and then wait a moment for the next reward. And then you can continue to reward them and give them the release cue. If they keep popping up over and over and over again, that's usually a sign that the distractions in the environment or the duration of time we're asking them to hold their position is too difficult for them at this moment in time. Once your dog understands how to hold some duration for their position, we can start to add a little bit of distraction. At the beginning, our distraction is going to be our human movement, and we again want them to learn that once we ask them to go into their position, like a sit or a down, that they're going to hold that and stay there until they hear the release cue, even if other things are going on around them. So it's going to look something like this. Bolt, sit. Good. I'm going to give him his first treat for going into the position correctly. And then I'm going to add, for example, I stepped, but he stayed. So he's going to get his treat again. Oops, I dropped one. You can get it. Good job. Then I'm going to see, can I step this direction? He was able to stay. He gets his treat. So we want to start out nice and easy with just like a step to the side or a step behind. Yes. And then free. Bolt, free. Good boy, right? So even though I moved, he stayed in his position. Once that's going well, we can make it a little bit more difficult. Bolt, sit. Good. So now I can, for example, start to take more steps to one side or more steps back. If he gets up, let's try again. Sit. So I'm going to put him back in his position. He doesn't get a reward right away, but maybe that was too difficult. So I'm going to make less movement so that he can be successful. Free. And then release him. Okay, so that was a great example of what happens if they get up before we say the release cue. We just want to be really consistent with putting them back into their position and then trying something slightly easier so that they can be successful and then releasing them after that. So now that we have built some duration and we've added in some slight distraction, like the human moving as the dog holds their position, that would either be a sit or a down position until they hear the release cue, we can start to use it in more everyday situations. So for example, can I walk away and pick up something off of the ground and my dog still understands that he needs to hold his position because I asked him to sit and that implied stay is in there. So I'm going to ask him to, we'll do lay down. Thoughts? Good. So he's in his position and I'm going to break it down into a few steps. Because if I turn my back towards him and pick up something immediately, he might jump up. That might be too big of a step. So I'm going to check first, can I turn my back and do a slight bend over? He did that correctly, so I'm going to come back and reward him. Okay. Since he did that well, I can see, can he do it something a little bit more difficult? So I'm going to turn away, bend over a little bit more. He popped up, which means I'm going to put him back into his position. I'm going to put him back down. I'm not going to reward him now. And we're going to go back to an easier variation where he can have success. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that a few times until I'm sure that he can handle a little bit more. Good. And after 2 or 3 tries, I'm going to go ahead and say free, which means he can get up. Okay. You could use this for going in and out of doors. You could use this while you need to pick up a piece of trash from the ground. And as they understand the concept of the implied stay, we just want to start to add more real life examples and practice into those stays. So another example of when you might want to use that sit or down plus the implied stay in everyday life is with visitors or strangers approaching you. A lot of times our dogs just kind of assume if somebody's approaching us that it's okay for them to go say hi when we might not want them to. So we are going to work on, can our dogs hold those sit or down positions while somebody approaches? That would be the distraction. So I'm going to start walking towards Maddie and Delilah, and as I get close, Maddie is going to reward Delilah as needed to make sure that Delilah is able to hold her position. Okay, if it happens that they get up, we're just going to reset them and make it a little bit easier. So as I get closer, she's rewarding Delilah as needed, and then I'm going to already move away so that Maddie can release Delilah. And now Delilah can get up, but she held that stay the whole time that I approached. Since she did so well with that, I'm going to now pretend to be a little bit more enthusiastic so that it's a little bit more realistic to a stranger that they might find on the street. So I approach, I'm going to say, hi, your dog is just so cute. And you'll notice that Maddie's increasing the amount that she's rewarding Delilah because that maybe is a little bit harder for Delilah. And then I'm going to move away, right? And if it were to be a case that it would be all right, then she could release Delilah to go say hi to me instead of just releasing her up from her down position.